Today we will present to you a delightful fantasy adventure comedy film titled Gulliver's Travels. A middle-aged man named Lemuel Gulliver starts his day in his New York apartment, following his usual routine. He engages in conversations with his superhero toys on a shelf and enjoys dancing in the shower, revealing his playful and lighthearted nature. A prominent New York newspaper company employs Gulliver in their mailroom. On that particular day, he encounters a new colleague named Dan and forms a friendship with him. Gulliver is the supervisor in Dan's department. While going about their daily mail delivery, the two encounter Gulliver's longtime love interest and a journalist named Darcy Silverman. He has harbored deep feelings for her for an extended period of time, yet he has never mustered the courage to reveal his emotions. Later that day, Dan proudly announces that he has been promoted to head of the mail department on his very first day. Gulliver has been working in the facility for 10 years, yet he lacks the respect he deserves. Dan suggests that Gulliver lacks confidence in his communication skills and may struggle to advance beyond his current position in the mailroom. A concerned Gulliver observes Darcy diligently working late in the office. He musters up the courage and approaches her cabin to ask her out. However, he becomes quite anxious, so instead, he quickly grabs a paper from her desk and leaves. Darcy inquires if he is interested in pursuing a travel writing assignment. Gulliver reluctantly agrees and takes on the task of submitting a travel blog by the next day. Working from home, he diligently gathers information from various online sources to enhance the blog. The next day at work, he hands it over to Darcy, who is impressed by his writing skills and assigns him a new task. She is requesting his expertise in traveling to the Bermuda Triangle and writing an article about the intriguing phenomenon of ships mysteriously vanishing in that area. Gulliver agrees to impress her. Darcy coordinates a contact and arranges a boat for him. The following day, Gulliver swiftly makes his way to Bermuda, where someone promptly collects him. He guides Gulliver to a rented boat and provides instructions on how to operate it. The automated boat makes the journey straightforward. Gulliver embarks on a solo journey to the mysterious Bermuda Triangle. During the initial hours, he indulges in reading magazines about building robots and sipping on multiple cans of Coke. He quickly drifts off into slumber. After some time, he suddenly awakens to a colossal wave directly in front of him. In the face of a sudden sea storm, he swiftly dons a life jacket. In the water, the boat experiences intense shaking. A colossal sea tornado approaches Gulliver, taking him aback. The tornado swiftly draws Gulliver's boat into its core, engulfing him in its powerful force. The screen turns dark. Upon awakening, Gulliver finds himself unable to move his body. He gazes downward and is taken aback by the sight of small individuals perched on his chest. The leader presents himself as Commander Edwardian of the Lilliput. The camera pans out, revealing a multitude of individuals gathered around Gulliver. He's restrained on the ground with small ropes and wooden materials. Commander Edward refers to Gulliver as a beast. A bewildered Gulliver shouts in terror and effortlessly breaks free from the ropes. Believing that this is a dream, he attempts to close his eyes. Edward commands his soldiers to take down the beast. The soldiers swiftly secure their hooks to Gulliver's pants, rendering him unconscious. Upon awakening, Gulliver discovers that he is securely bound to a cart, being transported towards the kingdom of Lilliput. The residents emerge from their homes to catch a glimpse of the creature. King Theodore, the ruler of Lilliput, welcomes him into the royal palace. Princess Mary, the king's daughter, expresses sympathy for Gulliver and questions the need for the restraints to Edward. Edward accuses Gulliver of being a spy from their rival kingdom, Blefuscia. Gulliver speaks in a formal manner and inquires from the king about his current location. King Theodore's secretary, Jinx, informs him that he is in Lilliput, a highly esteemed nation in the world. Gulliver is skeptical and demands the non-existent cameraman to reveal himself, believing this to be a prank. In the following scene, we witness Gulliver's unfortunate confinement within a cave. He encounters a fellow inmate named Horatio, who was given a life sentence by Edward for attempting to pursue Princess Mary. The two are approached by Edward again, who listens to them, referring to him in a derogatory manner. When an enraged Edward threatens to imprison them indefinitely, Gulliver asserts that lame ass refers to someone who displays courage. Satisfied with the response, Edward brings both captives to a field to cultivate it, utilizing Gulliver's immense power. He securely immobilizes Gulliver with a sophisticated device. At that moment, the unmistakable sound of bells resonates from the palace, signaling an attack by Blefuscia. There is an ongoing attempt to abduct Princess Mary, and a fire has been ignited at the palace. Edward promptly rushes to the palace and instructs everyone not to rescue the princess, as he desires to be the sole savior. However, Horatio requests that Gulliver handle it, as Edward is unable to reach her in a timely manner. Gulliver skillfully defeats the Blefuscian soldiers and rescues the princess. However, the king and his secretary find themselves trapped in the midst of the raging fire. Gulliver, in a rush, relieves himself on the building. Everyone applauds him for his heroic act of extinguishing the fire and rescuing King Theodore. The king graciously releases him and Horatio from their confinement and expresses gratitude to Gulliver for his courageous actions. He also extends an invitation to everyone for an evening feast to commemorate the occasion. Edward is extremely upset to witness someone else receiving recognition for their courage. During the feast, the king inquires about Gulliver's place of origin, to which he confidently responds that he hails from Manhattan. Many people believe that Gulliver was the president of Manhattan due to his exceptional bravery. Gulliver experiences a newfound sense of accomplishment and decides to embellish his story by asserting that he was recognized as an exceptional leader. Everyone trusts his credibility, except for Edward. The next day, the residents of Lilliput construct a grand residence for Gulliver, complete with all the amenities he had been lacking during his time in New York. The king dispatches a search party to locate his boat, as per Gulliver's request. Gulliver also instructs them to construct a theater that can accommodate the entire population of the kingdom. Next, he presents a gripping portrayal of the sinking Titanic, suggesting that it reflects his own life's journey. People are truly astounded by the unfortunate circumstances he has faced. Edward asks about the details of his rescue after drowning, and Gulliver explains that he was revived. Later, Horatio requests Gulliver's assistance in making a favorable impression on Princess Mary, to which Gulliver readily agrees. They arrive at the palace, and Horatio confidently approaches the princess. An accomplished Gulliver quietly recites the lyrics of the song, "Kiss," prompting Horatio to echo them. Eventually, the princess begins to develop feelings for Horatio. However, she receives a call from Edward, who has arrived to pursue her. The two are meant to be together, as Edward is known for his bravery throughout the kingdom. Princess Mary has a rather unfavorable opinion of Edward, yet she is unable to find a way to distance herself from him. Elsewhere, the search party discovers a boat that has washed ashore containing cans of Coke. Gulliver arrives at the scene and discovers that his phone is still functioning. He has received 12 voice messages from Darcy. It appears that she is quite angry upon discovering Gulliver's plagiarized article. She must now embark on the same journey that Gulliver once undertook to conduct her own research on the Bermuda Triangle. Gulliver has made the decision to permanently stay in Lilliput, avoiding the prospect of returning to New York and facing her. Edward expresses his discontent with the decision and voices his concerns about Gulliver to the king. The king decides to let him go, stating that he has faith in Gulliver. Due to his exceptional performance, Gulliver is awarded the prestigious position of the new general, while Edward is reassigned as vice general. Edward, driven by envy, deactivates Lilliput's defense system, leaving them vulnerable to an attack from their adversaries, Blefuscia. The soldiers and their king from Blefuscia notice this and decide to launch an immediate attack on Lilliput. They navigate their way to the kingdom by sea and unleash cannonballs upon Lilliput. As the leader, it is now Gulliver's duty to put an end to their actions. He confidently steps into the water and begins to playfully splash it around. Gulliver, being significantly larger than the cannonballs, remains unaffected by their impact. Ultimately, he emerges victorious over the Blefuscians and becomes the hero of Lilliput. The individuals from Lilliput fulfill all of Gulliver's desires. They constructed a replica of Times Square to create a familiar environment for him. They adapt their attire to align with that of Gulliver's. Trained individuals are assigned to groom his hair and provide him with massages. One evening, Edward enters the princess's chamber abruptly. He asserts his entitlement to enter at any time due to his relationship with the princess. The princess makes it clear that her feelings have changed and she no longer wishes to pursue a romantic relationship with him. Edward departs for Blefuscia to seek assistance from their ruler. Edward's team has discovered the Build Your Robot book that Gulliver had on the boat. The Blefuscian king agrees to assist him in constructing a robot, utilizing the book to confront Gulliver. After a few days, Gulliver finds himself at the model Times Square when the bells of the palace suddenly ring, indicating a possible invasion. Gulliver prepares for a fierce confrontation with a group of diminutive individuals, only to be taken aback by the presence of a colossal robot controlled by Edward. Edward proposes a duel to settle the matter. Gulliver has no choice but to accept. He attempts to exert force on the robot, only to discover that it possesses significantly greater strength than him. It lifts Gulliver up by his pants and forces him to acknowledge his defeat. Gulliver also admits that his previous claims of being the president were false. The king and the princess are taken aback by his betrayal. Edward assigns Gulliver the task of visiting a restricted location known as the Island Where We Dare Not Go as a disciplinary measure. When Gulliver finds himself stranded, he is rescued by a young girl of enormous size. It appears that the island is inhabited by giants. The girl sees Gulliver as a plaything and enjoys keeping him in her Barbie house, where she dresses him in adorable pink outfits. Meanwhile, in Lilliput, Darcy's lifeless body is discovered on the shore. Gulliver had informed everyone of Darcy's royal status in his homeland, leading Edward to identify her and subsequently detain her. She encounters King Theodore and his queen in prison, who have been captured following Gulliver's defeat. Upon witnessing this, Horatio makes the bold decision to embark on a journey to the mysterious island from which others shy away. In order to retrieve Gulliver, he successfully reaches Gulliver unharmed, despite his small size on the island. The dollhouse also contains the remains of a deceased U.S. Air Force pilot. Gulliver skillfully employs the parachute to make a daring escape and gracefully soar back to Lilliput. He initially visits Darcy at the prison and admits his feelings for her. She appears to have forgiven him for plagiarizing the article and seems to be becoming more receptive towards him. Gulliver has made the decision to confront Edward in a duel. He no longer desires to demonstrate his courage, but sincerely wishes to assist Lilliput. The next day, the two face each other, prepared for a fierce confrontation. Gulliver requests that Edward return the kingdom to King Theodore in the event of his victory. If he is unsuccessful, Edward will completely devastate the kingdom. The two engage in a heated altercation, and Edward swiftly gains the upper hand, overpowering his opponent in a matter of seconds. Horatio quickly rushes to assist him and successfully enters the robot. He emerges victorious over Edward, dismantling the robot from within and rendering it powerless. After that, Gulliver effortlessly overcomes it, and the crowd bursts into applause, with even Darcy joining in the celebration. Due to Horatio's courageous actions, he has been granted the privilege of courting Princess Mary. They finally share a kiss. However, at that moment, Edward, who has become unhinged, decides to hold the princess captive. Fed up with Edward's antics, the princess unleashes her frustration and defeats the traitor. Darcy then shares a kiss with Gulliver for the first time. The Blefuscan king and Theodore are on the verge of reigniting the war, but Gulliver intervenes to prevent further conflict. He effectively facilitates the reconciliation between the rival island nations by reciting Edwin Starr's war, and ultimately, he and Darcy sail back to New York City on their repaired ship. Fast forward a few weeks, Gulliver has moved on from his mailroom job and is now pursuing a career as a travel writer. He and Darcy are in a successful relationship. Gulliver has successfully finished a travel assignment, and the movie concludes with the two characters leaving Darcy's office hand in hand. Thank you for watching. If you're new, remember to subscribe for more. See you in the next video.